Good morning, everyone. I'm going to be making a quick video basically on the state of the markets, what I think and expect going into Q4. I had already made a video about this back in late August, coming into September, and those setups appear like they may be coming to fruition here. So I'm going to quickly go over them. So here's the video, which is one of the names I'll be going over. We are coming into basically we have taken out all-time highs and swept all liquidity, right? So what I am looking for on semis and NVDA specifically is some type of reversal into these highs and a move back down into the area we came from from the April lows. So you have a couple open gaps here and a lot of sell side liquidity to the downside. So if we can target some sells, that would be very clean. This is one trade I'll be watching going into today. So let's go down into lower time frame. We're currently at 189.70. If we can lose this zone here, I think we should see some very nice selling on NVIDIA. You have some sell side liquidity down here. So for first target, well, not first target because there's a few targets on the way down. You have a bit of a gap here. Yesterday's lows, some nice support here. Bit of a gap here. And then your sell side liquidity, right? So if you do take this trade, you could take a bit of profits on the way down, depending what you're taking. If you try trading this on the weekly, for example, that can pay very well. One comment I will say is one, we have unemployment claims at 5:30, so that is yet to be seen on the chart. Up or down, we shall see. I think maybe down, but let's see what we get. And then tomorrow pre-market, we're going to have NFP. So just be aware if you do take any of these trades, which are not recommendations, by the way. You should definitely consider those news events pre-market. If you do take weeklies, keep it small size. If you want to swing with a bit of time for this potential movement to 175 or maybe even lower, I think that's going to be a very clean trade on NVIDIA. As for Apple, I really wanted to see a 260.10 sweep. Has not happened yet. Yeah, we didn't get there. So ideally, I want to see buy side liquidity swept on Apple, which is basically all-time highs. If that happens today, great. I'll try to take some sells. Until that happens, I'll probably just refrain, sit back. If I have to end up shorting on a breach of 253, I'll do that. But I'm not really looking to short Apple here into 256, 257. Realistically, best case scenario and what I'm really looking for is to be able to short Apple into 260 or higher. And then anything above 265, I would exit the trade. That's what I'm looking for on Apple. And those are the write-ups pretty much I sent in the Discord yesterday. Yesterday or 2 days ago. 1 second. Tesla. I've mentioned I'm not a fan of the premiums on Tesla. It's a pretty expensive trade, especially on the options. But it's looking interesting here for a short. Will we come fill all-time highs? That's a potential. I'm not gonna say it can't happen just because of how fast it's moving. It's only about $20 away. What's another $20 squeeze, right? Let's zoom in here. Sure, you could. Don't know if let's see. are basically coming right into, oops, didn't extend it. Oh, I did. Yeah, so pretty close to those all-time highs. If Tesla does squeeze into 483, I think that's going to be a great sell. Even here, it looks enticing for a potential short, assuming it breaks down below current levels, right? Like I said, we have unemployment claims. What time is it? In about an hour. And then we're going to have NFP tomorrow pre-market. If today, during the trading session, we get Tesla squeezing higher into that 483 zone, I will consider shorting. And then as for Apple, like I said, if we could get Apple into 260, I would definitely consider shorting above that. So those are two trades I'm interested in, other than as well as NVDA. NVIDIA and Tesla are both going to be a little more expensive just because they have higher IVs. So just be aware, like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of trading those names. I'll do it here and there, but just be aware you are paying higher IV on that. Meta, I'm probably not going to touch. This one already did its move and it was a pretty clean one. So, you know, that's fine. If you were short Meta, great. But anytime I was looking at a trade, for example, like this one, and I just didn't take it, I'm not going to chase. This was a great sell, super clean trend for whoever that was in those sells. But at this point, I would just refrain from taking any trades on it at all. Like I said, Apple, NVIDIA, Tesla look great. Why forces setup that already moved. What else am I watching? Netflix looks interesting. Probably not gonna play it. This one sales paid a little bit yesterday, but we're coming to a point where we either hold this support or let's go with daily. So I was thinking they were gonna try to break out here. They failed to break out. Never hit this buy side from earnings. We are now trying to base down here. So it's a critical support. They either hold this space, try to reclaim some, levels to the upside, or we're headed much lower. Let's cover gold real quick. So gold is probably another name I'm going to be really interested in shorting. GLD premiums aren't too great, if I'm being honest with you. If you don't have a lot of capital to trade with, if you can only take one short, whether it's SPY. These charts aren't great. Let me show you SPX 500. If you could only take one trade, whether it's SPY or GLD, I would stick with SPY, simply because you're going to get a better bang for your buck per se. So this is where we currently are on SPX. I mentioned down, it doesn't matter. Long story short, where we are, we have two potential reversal zones. The first one, which is one I'm going to be watching for today, is break back below yesterday's high. Why does this look so ugly? All money daily. If we break back below yesterday's highs, which is roughly around here, that is one potential sell you can look to take back to these lower ranges, right? And if we stay above yesterday's high one, no reason to be taking sells. But the potential targets can be all the way into here, which is 6,769.6, 6793.6. So roughly that would translate to, my SPY chart looks not the cleanest at the moment. I had not been on it since I don't really trade SPY too much right now. So here you are, 66.74 roughly. About a $3 squeeze to the upside. What else do we have? JPM. So JPM hasn't moved too much. It is a little bit on the lower side, down about $10 off the highs. Has a bit more liquidity to the downside per these targets. The only thing I don't like is that this is a potential bounce area before the next leg down, right? So I really want to see what we get today in the markets. If we see some follow through on the first three names I mentioned, that's all I'm focused on. So Apple, NVDA, Tesla are going to be the biggest movers in my opinion. And depending what those do, that's what the market's going to do. It's just going to follow. And if that does not, if they're not ready to go, they're not ready to go. You got to be patient. Might be until tomorrow, might be until next week. One thing I did forget to mention on the NVIDIA note, if you do happen to take NVIDIA or you want to take it, you don't want to take it, doesn't matter, but that's up to you. But essentially the setup on NVIDIA, it's coming into all-time highs. I'm mentioning taking the short back down into these lows, right? There is an inverse, which is SOXS. And I've been tracking SOXS for quite some time. Right now at 490, right? Which we're opening even lower, 469. Great. So I'm probably gonna pick up some SOXS calls myself, just because, like I said, NVIDIA is at all-time highs. I'm looking for a potential short, and if you want to take some buys on SOXS, whether it's calls or stock outright, this is a pretty good price. 469 is insane. I'm for sure gonna pick up some shares right now and some calls probably. So this is a similar trade to UVXY. If you want to take calls, that's great. If you want to take some shares long, that's also great. I think both these have very good potential. SOXS might be a better bargain here. Yep. If you do take calls, I like to take different batches. So I will take probably 2 weeks out, and then maybe a month out, and then maybe 3 months out. I'm pretty sure the premiums on SOXS are going to be a lot cheaper than UVXY. But I definitely get a mix of both if you have the capital, obviously. If not, I'd probably stick to just SPY. If you don't have a lot to play with, stick to just one name. I'd probably do SPY. If you could get a mix of everything, then great. J&J swept buy side liquidity. So swept buy side liquidity the other day, which was this here. We have sell side liquidity all the way down to here, some here. And essentially, if we get a breach of, what is this, 184.56, I think we can see some pretty nice selling for that first leg down. At least about $5 lower, and then if we manage to lose 180, we could get maybe about another $10 roughly to the downside, not including this entire range. So pretty clean setup on J&J. Super low IV, which is one of the reasons why I love trading J&J. It pays very well. AVGO already down a bit off the highs, came into the sell gap, bouncing a little bit, but that's one name I'd rather not touch at this specific moment, simply because, like I said, NVIDIA is at all-time highs. Better entry or trade risk to reward here on NVIDIA for a short, as opposed to AVGO, which is down already about $30 off the highs. And I think that's going to be probably most of the names I'm going to cover here. Google making decent progress as well. If Google stays below 786 at 245.36, we should see some continuation to the downside, maybe as low as 205.28 or even lower. I think that's going to be about it. I don't know if you guys want to see Walmart. Walmart's probably a decent setup, not the best. This is probably like my last pick as from everything I've mentioned, but Walmart trades decent. All right, well, let me know if you guys got questions about any of those setups. But yes, essentially going into October, I do think the majority of the stocks in the market will have a pretty steep correction. So be prepared for that.